The message arrived on a Tuesday. Humanity had been scanning the stars for centuries, hoping for confirmation they weren't alone in the universe. When the Galactic Coalition's emissaries finally appeared in orbit around Earth, President Taehyun Kim addressed the world with cautious optimism. "Today marks our species' entry onto the galactic stage," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of history upon his shoulders. The initial meetings went well. Ambassador June Park represented humanity with dignity as the coalition delegates shared knowledge of faster-than-light travel and promised cultural exchange. Earth's nations began to unite under a single banner, preparing for membership in the broader galactic community. But not everyone in the coalition welcomed humanity with open arms. The hegemony, a powerful military faction, viewed Earth as a threat to their dominance. They had conquered many worlds before and saw humans as dangerous. Too creative, too adaptable, too unpredictable. 3 weeks after first contact, without warning, warships bearing the insignia of the hegemony dropped out of hyperspace above major Earth cities. The orbital defense platforms, primitive by coalition standards, were vaporized within minutes. "We are under attack." The emergency broadcast cut through all channels. "This is not a drill." Mars Colony sent a desperate transmission before going silent. "They're bombing the habitation domes. We need immediate." The signal ended in static. In New Seoul, people ran through the streets as enormous shadows from the alien ships darkened the sky. Energy weapons lanced down, turning skyscrapers into molten slag. Similar scenes played out in New York, Lagos, and Mumbai. In an underground facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, General Sun Hee Lee stared at tactical displays showing humanity's forces being systematically destroyed. Military leaders from around the world joined the emergency meeting, their faces grim on the screens surrounding her. "Our conventional weapons have minimal effect on their shields," reported Admiral Seo Junyu. The Chinese carrier group managed to launch their full missile complement before being destroyed. "It didn't even slow the enemy down." General Lee nodded slowly. She had feared this moment might come. As the head of Earth's most classified military project, she had been preparing for this possibility even when others laughed at the idea of alien threats. "It's time," she said quietly. "Activate Project Blackstar." The others in the room exchanged nervous glances. Project Blackstar was controversial. Many considered it a waste of resources, building a ship using technologies not fully understood. "The Blackstar isn't ready," protested Defense Minister Hyun-Sik Choi. "The weapons systems are untested outside simulations." "We don't have the luxury of time," General Lee replied. "The Blackstar is our only hope now." She turned to her aide. "Contact Captain Do Hyun Kong immediately." Halfway across the world, Captain Kong sat alone on a small fishing boat. The water was calm, but he found no peace. Not since the Io incident 3 years ago that had cost his entire crew their lives. His communicator beeped, a sound it hadn't made in years. The number was one he recognized. One that wasn't supposed to call unless the world was ending. Maybe it was. "Captain Kong," said General Lee's voice, "the hegemony is burning our cities. We need you back in the chair." Kong closed his eyes briefly. "I'll be ready in an hour." The underground transport system took him to a hidden base in the asteroid belt. There, carved into the heart of a planetoid, waited humanity's secret weapon. The USS Blackstar was unlike any vessel in Earth's fleet. Sleek in midnight black, it absorbed rather than reflected light. Its hull incorporated materials reverse-engineered from a crashed alien scout ship recovered decades earlier. Its weapons systems were theoretical, based on principles of quantum physics that most scientists still debated. "She's crewed and ready," said Chief Engineer Jai Waryu, her hands moving across holographic controls. "The quantum cannons are calibrated, and Hana is online." "Hana?" asked Kong. As if in response, a voice emanated from all around them. "Human adaptive neural architecture, at your service, Captain. I run the ship's integrated systems." Captain Kong walked onto the bridge, seeing the hastily assembled crew for the first time. They were brilliant outcasts and mavericks whom conventional military thinking had sidelined. Each was the best in their field, but too unconventional for traditional command structures. Looking at the main view screen, Kong could see Earth. Beautiful blue and green, now marred by the fires of invasion visible even from space. The hegemony thinks they know humanity, he said to his crew. They think we're primitive and easy to conquer. They've never faced desperate humans with nothing to lose. He sat in the captain's chair, feeling its contours adjust to his body. Let's show them exactly how wrong they are. Prepare for a departure. The USS Blackstar powered up its experimental engines, the lights dimming momentarily as energy flowed through systems never before activated outside of testing. Ahead lay an enemy that had never known defeat. That was about to change. The shuttle carrying Captain Do-Hyun Kong docked with the hidden asteroid base. As the airlock cycled, he took a deep breath. 3 years since he had commanded a ship. 3 years of nightmares about the Io disaster where his last crew had died. Admiral Min-seo Choi met him at the dock. Her uniform was crisp despite the crisis unfolding across the solar system. Walk with me, she said without greeting. Time is something we don't have. They moved through corridors carved from solid rock, deeper into the asteroid. Kong noticed the base was on high alert, crew members rushing to their stations. How bad is it? Kong asked. Earth's military is at 40% capacity and falling. The hegemony has destroyed most of our orbital defenses. Ground forces are holding in some areas, but their technology is too advanced. We're losing. They stopped at a massive vault door. The Admiral placed her hand on a scanner, and her eye was bathed in blue light. Authorization Choi Alpha 70, she said. The vault door slid open silently, revealing an enormous cavern beyond. And there, suspended in a construction cradle, was the USS Blackstar. Kong stopped in his tracks. He had seen the designs, of course, but the real thing was something else entirely. The ship was beautiful in a dangerous way. Its hull was midnight black, seeming to absorb the light around it. Unlike the blocky military vessels of Earth's fleet, the Blackstar was sleek and predatory. Impressed, asked the Admiral. How did we build this without anyone knowing? 20 years of black budget funding. Materials recovered from the Roswell crash. Scientists willing to work on theories others called impossible. A woman in engineer's coveralls approached them. Her hands were stained with mechanical grease, and she carried a tablet. Chief Engineer Jaiwo Ryu, she introduced herself. The ship is as ready as she'll ever be. Tell me what I'm working with, Kong said as they walked toward the boarding ramp. The hull incorporates metamaterials that can absorb or deflect energy weapons. The propulsion system uses zero-point energy, giving us speeds no human vessel has achieved before. Engineer Ryu's voice was filled with pride. And then there's the weapons. Quantum cannons, Admiral Choi added. Theoretical until 6 months ago. They create localized disruptions in spacetime. No shield technology we know of can stop them. They entered the ship. The corridors were narrow but efficient. The lighting was soft blue, easy on the eyes during long missions. Kong noted the quality of construction, no exposed wires, no makeshift fixes. Despite being experimental, the Blackstar was built to military specifications. The bridge was compact, with 5 stations arranged in a semicircle. At the center was the captain's chair. Your crew is waiting, said the Admiral. Hand-picked specialists. The best we have left. One by one, they introduced themselves. Weapons specialist Hyun Bin Yoon had 3 doctorates in theoretical physics and had designed the quantum cannons himself. Pilot Eun Jae-bae had been kicked out of the Space Force for insubordination, but her flight scores were the highest ever recorded. Science officer Juno Kwon was young, too young, Kong thought, but his work on exotic matter had revolutionized shield technology. And then there's Hana, said Engineer Ryu, tapping a console. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the bridge. It took the form of a simple blue sphere, pulsing gently with light. Human adaptive neural architecture, the sphere said. Its voice was neither male nor female, but somehow comforting. I manage all ship systems and assist with tactical decisions. An AI? Kang asked, surprised. AIs were restricted under international law after the Singapore incident. Hana is different, Engineer Ryu said quickly. She's built on human brain patterns, specifically designed for ethical decision-making. She can process information faster than any human, giving us an edge we desperately need. Admiral Choi pulled Kang aside. I know what you're thinking. This crew of misfits. Untested technology. An illegal AI. But right now, they're all we have. Kang looked at the view screen, which showed a live feed from Earth. Sydney was burning, the famous opera house now just a skeleton of its former self. Attack ships had set up orbital positions around major cities worldwide. What's our mission? He asked finally. Survival, first, said the Admiral. The Blackstar has stealth capabilities beyond anything the hegemony has encountered. Use that advantage. Hit their supply lines, gather intelligence, and find their weaknesses. An alarm sounded. A communications officer rushed onto the bridge. Admiral, we've lost contact with the Moscow bunker and the underwater base at Guam. Hegemony forces are systematically targeting our command centers. They're hunting down our leadership, the Admiral said grimly. She turned to Kang. You need to launch now. The Blackstar cannot fall into enemy hands. Kang settled into the captain's chair. It molded to his form, displays lighting up around him. All stations, report readiness, he ordered. One by one, the crew confirmed their systems were online. Hana's sphere pulsed with each confirmation. Departure protocols initiated, said Pilot Bay. Ready when you are, Captain. The massive doors above the asteroid base began to open, revealing the star-filled void of space. Take us out, pilot. Slowly until we clear the asteroid field, then prepare the phase drive. The Blackstar hummed with power as it lifted from its cradle. For the first time in human history, a ship built by Earth hands would fight against an alien enemy. And despite everything, Kang felt a spark of hope. The hunt was about to begin. The Hegemony command vessel Inevitable Dominance hovered in Earth orbit, its massive form casting shadows on the clouds below. Commander Krozek stood before the viewing portal, his forearms folded in satisfaction as he watched another human city burn. These creatures are hardly worth the effort, he said to his lieutenant. Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields, and their tactics are primitive. True, Commander, the lieutenant replied, but they fight with unusual determination. Krozek made a dismissive gesture. The behavior of cornered animals. Nothing more. On the bridge of the USS Blackstar, Captain Kang studied the enemy formation. The Hegemony had positioned their ships with arrogance, minimal defensive screening, weapons powered down. They weren't expecting any resistance. Hana, analyze their shield frequencies, Kang ordered. Analysis complete, the AI responded. Their shields operate on a modulating pattern. I detect a potential vulnerability during transition cycles. Science Officer Juno nodded. If we time our attack precisely, we could penetrate their defenses during the microsecond when they shift frequencies. Can you program the quantum cannons to synchronize with those cycles? Kang asked weapons specialist Hyunbin. Already on it, Captain. Hyunbin's fingers danced over his console. Weapons are primed and targeting solutions locked. Kang looked at his crew. They were untested in battle together, but each was brilliant in their own way. Now was the time to see if they could function as a team. Pilot Bay, take us in. Use Jupiter's magnetic field to mask our approach. Yes, Captain. Moon-Jae guided the Blackstar with delicate precision, skimming the gas giant's upper atmosphere. The ship shuddered slightly as radiation washed over it. Shield status? Kang asked. Holding at 98%, reported Engineer Jaiwoo from her station. The radiation dampeners are working even better than expected. The Blackstar emerged from Jupiter's shadow, now on a direct course for the Hegemony fleet. They were still invisible to enemy sensors, cloaked by technology decades ahead of anything humans had publicly revealed. We'll only have surprise for our first attack, Kang reminded them. Make it count. As they closed distance, the crew fell silent. On the view screen, the hegemony ships grew larger, 3 destroyers protecting the command vessel. Each destroyer was 5 times the size of the Blackstar. In range in 30 seconds, Pilot Bay announced, her voice steady. Target the nearest destroyer, ordered Kong. Aim for their propulsion systems. Targeting complete, confirmed Hyunbin. Quantum cannons charged and locked. Hana, begin tracking shield modulation patterns, Kong said. Tracking active, Captain. I will signal the optimal firing window. The seconds ticked by. The Blackstar close to attack range, still undetected by the enemy. Now, Hana announced. Fire, ordered Kong. The quantum cannons discharged, sending beams of blue-white energy toward the enemy ship. Unlike conventional weapons, these beams didn't travel as light or plasma. They created localized distortions in spacetime itself, passing through the hegemony shields as if they weren't there. On board the hegemony destroyer, alarms blared as critical systems failed simultaneously. Their engines exploded in a brilliant flash, sending the massive warship tumbling. Direct hit, shouted Hyunbin. Their propulsion system is completely disabled. They've detected us, warned Science Officer Juno. Enemy vessels powering weapons. Target the second destroyer, Kong ordered calmly. Same approach. The Blackstar banked sharply as enemy fire began to fill space around them. The quantum cannons fired again, catching the second destroyer during its shield transition cycle. This time, the beam struck the vessel's command center. The destroyer didn't explode, it simply went dark, all systems failing at once. On the inevitable dominance, Commander Krozek was no longer calm. What is happening? He demanded. How is one ship causing such damage? Unknown vessel using unknown weapons technology, his tactical officer reported. Our sensors didn't detect its approach. Destroyers 1 and 2 are disabled. Impossible, roared Krozek. Focus all firepower on that ship. The command vessel and remaining destroyer turned their massive weapon arrays toward the Blackstar. Space lit up with energy blasts. Evasive pattern Delta. Kong ordered. Pilot Bay's hands flew across the controls, guiding the Blackstar through the enemy fire with impossible precision. The ship twisted and turned in ways no human pilot could have managed without Hana's assistance. But they couldn't dodge everything. A blast caught the Blackstar's port side, sending the ship lurching violently. Damage report, called Kong as the bridge lights flickered. Port shields down to 40%, Engineer Jaiwo reported. Hull breach on Deck 3, sealing now. Weapons still operational. Target the third destroyer, Kong ordered. We need to even the odds. The quantum cannons fired again. This time, the destroyer was ready, shifting its shield frequencies randomly. But Hana was faster, adjusting the quantum beam in real time. The beam struck the destroyer's weapons array, causing a cascade of secondary explosions. All 3 destroyers neutralized, reported Hyunbin. Only the command ship remains operational. Captain, Hana interjected, my analysis indicates we cannot survive prolonged engagement with the command vessel. Their adaptive defense systems are learning from our attacks. Kong nodded. We've made our point. Pilot Bay, prepare for emergency jump. Coordinate set, Unjae confirmed. Phase drive charging. On the view screen, the command vessel was turning its full firepower toward them. Dozens of weapon ports glowed with building energy. They're targeting our engine core, warned Hana. Jump now, ordered Kong. The Blackstar vanished in a flash of light just as the enemy's weapons discharged. When they reappeared, they were deep in the asteroid belt, safely hidden among the rocks. The crew looked at each other in silent amazement. They had just challenged the most powerful force in the solar system and won. The fight has just begun, Kong said quietly. But today, humanity struck back. The Blackstar emerged from hyperspace near the moons of Saturn. 3 months had passed since their first strike against the hegemony fleet. 3 months of hit-and-run attacks that had transformed the crew from nervous specialists into hardened warriors. Captain Kong studied the tactical display. The hegemony supply convoy was right where their intelligence had predicted, 5 transport ships protected by 2 light cruisers. All hands to battle stations, he ordered calmly. The crew responded instantly, each member moving to their positions with practiced efficiency. Weapons ready, reported Hyunbin from Tactical. His console showed the quantum cannons at full charge. Hana, analyze their patrol pattern, Kong said. Analysis complete, the AI responded. Detecting a 60-second gap in their sensor coverage when they pass behind Titan. Pilot Eun-jae nodded. That's our window. Take us in, Kong ordered. Phase cloak active. The Blackstar slipped through space like a shadow, its advanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to enemy sensors. As they approached, Science Officer Juno studied the enemy ships intensely. Captain, I'm detecting something interesting about their shield harmonics, he said. There's a consistent pattern in their shield modulation. A flaw in their basic design. Can we exploit it? Asked Kong. With the right frequency calculations, we could potentially disable their shields completely rather than just timing our attacks to their transition points. This was exactly why the Blackstar was succeeding where conventional forces had failed. The combination of brilliant minds and advanced technology allowed them to adapt and innovate faster than the enemy could respond. Send the data to Hyunbin, Kong ordered. Let's test your theory. The Blackstar positioned itself behind Titan's bulk, waiting for the convoy to pass. When the moment came, they emerged at full speed, weapons hot. Target the lead cruiser, Kong commanded. Let's see if Juno's discovery works. The quantum cannons fired, but instead of the usual focused beam, they emitted a broader pulse tuned to the exact inverse of the hegemony shield frequency. When it struck the enemy cruiser, the result was immediate and devastating. The shields didn't just weaken, they collapsed completely. All enemy shields are down. Hyunbin reported with excitement. The resonance cascade worked across their entire formation. Fire conventional torpedoes, ordered Kong. Take out their engines. The Blackstar launched a spread of torpedoes, striking the defenseless ships with surgical precision. Within minutes, the entire convoy was disabled, floating helplessly in space. Prepare boarding teams, Kong said. I want those supply ships captured intact. As Engineer Jaiwo led the boarding parties, the bridge crew continued to analyze the shield vulnerability they had discovered. This isn't just a tactical advantage, Juno explained, his eyes bright with realization. It's a fundamental weakness in all hegemony technology. If we can share this with Earth's remaining forces. Hana, prepare a data package, Kong ordered. Include all our findings and tactical applications. We'll transmit it on our next covert communication with headquarters. 2 weeks later, the first fruits of this discovery appeared. 3 newly retrofitted Earthships, the destroyers Defiance and Perseverance, along with the carrier Solidarity, emerged from hidden shipyards on the dark side of the moon. Each was equipped with modified weapons designed to exploit the hegemony shield vulnerability. Captain Min Jae-han, Kang's former academy rival, led the small but lethal fleet. The Blackstar opened the door, he told his crews. Now we walk through it together. The hegemony, accustomed to easy victories, found themselves suddenly facing effective resistance. Human ships that should have been easy targets were now destroying their vessels with alarming regularity. But the Blackstar's mission had evolved beyond mere military strikes. During a raid on a hegemony science vessel, they discovered something unexpected: prisoners from other alien species. The crystalline Lith had once been renowned astronomers before the hegemony conquered their world. The methane-breathing Nor had developed advanced hyperspace navigation techniques. Both species had suffered under hegemony rule for generations. We are not alone in this fight, Kong told his crew as they welcomed representatives from both species aboard. The hegemony has made enemies across the stars. The Lith engineer Tazkai helped upgrade the Blackstar's sensors, allowing them to detect enemy ships at twice the previous range. The Nor navigator Mul provided secret hyperspace routes that let the growing human fleet strike targets thought to be secure. Admiral Choi's voice came through during their encrypted communication session. The hegemony is responding to our successes. They're sending their supreme dreadnought, the Eternal Subjugation. Their supreme commander wants to make an example of Earth once and for all. Captain Kong looked around at his crew. They were no longer the collection of misfits and theoretical specialists they had been 3 months ago. They were veterans, united by shared purpose and hardened by battle. Then we'll be ready, he replied. The Blackstar found their weakness. Now humanity will exploit it. As they prepared for what might be their final battle, Kong felt something he hadn't experienced since before the Io disaster, not just hope, but confidence. The hegemony had made a fatal mistake in attacking Earth. They had assumed technological superiority would guarantee victory. They had never faced humans fighting for their very existence, armed with the innovation and adaptability that had defined their species since they first looked up at the stars and dreamed of reaching them. Now the hegemony would learn what that meant. Jupiter's massive form dominated the viewscreen of the USS Blackstar. The gas giant's swirling storm seemed fitting for the battle about to unfold in its orbit. Captain Kong stood on the bridge, watching as the fleet assembled around them. 6 human ships, battle-scarred but ready. 12 vessels from the Lith and Nor, former slaves of the hegemony now fighting for their freedom. And hundreds of automated combat drones developed in hidden Earth facilities, their designs based on technology the Blackstar had captured in previous engagements. All ships report ready, Captain, said Communications Officer Sungmin, his voice steady despite the tension. The hegemony fleet has been detected entering the system, Hana announced. 31 ships including the dreadnought Eternal Subjugation. Kong opened a channel to the entire fleet. This is Captain Kong. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for freedom across the stars. Remember your training. Remember what we've learned about their weaknesses. Execute Formation Omega. The Allied ships moved into position, spreading out to force the hegemony to divide their attention. The Blackstar took the lead position, its midnight hull absorbing the light from Jupiter. They're approaching, reported Science Officer Juno. Their main fleet is deploying in standard attack formation. The hegemony dreadnought emerged from hyperspace, its massive form dwarfing even the largest human vessel. Nearly 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapon ports and surrounded by a fleet of support ships, it was designed to inspire fear. Supreme Commander Vraktal is transmitting, said Sungmin. On screen, ordered Kong. The alien commander's face appeared, a grayskin being with 4 eyes arranged vertically down his face. His voice translated through the ship's systems. Humans. Your resistance has been amusing but futile. Surrender now, and we will allow some of your species to survive as servants. Kang's response was simple. We decline your offer. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Weapon status? Quantum cannons at full charge, reported Hyunbin. Shield disruptors ready. All ships, Kong ordered over the fleet channel, engage as planned. The battle erupted with blinding intensity. The human and allied ships moved in complex patterns, using the tactical advantage Juno had discovered months ago. Their weapons struck with precision, targeting shield generators and weapons systems. But the dreadnought's firepower was devastating. Its opening salvo destroyed 3 allied ships instantly. Return fire seemed to barely scratch its reinforced hull. They've adapted their shields, Juno reported urgently. The disruptor frequency isn't working on the dreadnought. Hana, analysis, Kong demanded. The dreadnought uses a different shield technology than their standard vessels, the AI responded. However, I detect a command node near their central section. If destroyed, it would disrupt coordination across their entire fleet. Kong studied the tactical display. To reach that command node would require passing through the heaviest concentration of enemy fire. Can we survive a direct approach? He asked. Probability of success, 27.3%, Hana responded. Pilot Eun-jae looked back at Kong. Those aren't the worst odds we've faced, Captain. Kong nodded. Alert medical to prepare for casualties. Engineering, divert all available power to forward shields. Engineer Jaiwa's voice came over the comm. Understood, Captain. I've also rerouted emergency power to the weapons systems. We'll have one shot at full power, then we'll need 3 minutes to recharge. All we need is one, Kong replied. The Blackstar broke formation, accelerating directly toward the massive dreadnought. Enemy fire concentrated on them immediately. The ship shuddered as impacts hammered their shields. Shields at 60%. 45%. Reported Hyunbin as they closed distance. Stay on course, Kong ordered as warning lights flashed across the bridge. A direct hit rocked the ship, throwing crew members from their stations. Smoke filled the bridge as circuits overloaded. Hull breach on deck 3, shouted Jaiwoo over the comm emergency force fields holding. Shields at 20%, Hyunbin reported. We're almost in range. As they approached the dreadnought, its true scale became apparent. The Blackstar was like an insect attacking an elephant. Targeting the command node, said Hyunbin, his hands steady despite blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Quantum disruptor locked. Fire when ready, ordered Kong. The Blackstar's ultimate weapon deployed, a phase-shifted quantum disruptor developed from the combined knowledge of Earth and their new allies. The beam struck the dreadnought's command center, causing cascading failures throughout the massive vessel. Direct hit, shouted Hyunbin. Across the battlefield, hegemony ships suddenly lost coordination. Their formation broke apart as command signals failed. The fleet is responding to the dreadnought's vulnerability, reported Sungmin. All ships converging on target. Together, the combined fleet focused their fire on the wounded giant. Without its coordinated shield grid, sections of the dreadnought began to fail catastrophically. Supreme Commander Vractal's final transmission expressed not just defeat but disbelief. How is this possible? You were primitive, unworthy. The dreadnought's core went critical, exploding in a brilliant flash that temporarily outshone Jupiter itself. The remaining hegemony vessels, now leaderless, began retreating in disarray. 3 weeks later, representatives from the moderate factions of the Galactic Coalition arrived at Earth, this time with genuine offers of alliance rather than conquest. The hegemony has dominated our politics for too long, explained Ambassador Lax of the Coalition. Your victory has inspired rebellions across a dozen subjugated worlds. The USS Blackstar, undergoing repairs in Earth orbit, became a symbol throughout the galaxy, proof that determination could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. Captain Kong stood in the observation lounge, watching as Earth turned below. The planet bore the scars of invasion, but already rebuilding had begun. And now, humanity would not rebuild alone. They had earned their place among the stars.